Derrick Rose still carries himself like he remembers everything. Welcome to the channel Fame Express, where greatness and heartbreak often exist inside the same story. There was a time when Derrick Rose moved across a basketball court with such speed and freedom that people genuinely believed they were watching the future of the NBA unfold in real time. Chicago loved him differently because he felt familiar. He wasn't manufactured by celebrity culture. He was a hometown kid carrying the weight of a city that desperately wanted hope again. And for a brief moment, he gave them exactly that. Winning MVP at such a young age should have felt like the beginning of something endless. Instead, it became the start of a much more painful journey. Injuries slowly interrupted the version of Derrick Rose the world thought it knew. One surgery became another. One comeback attempt became years of physical uncertainty, emotional frustration, and public doubt. What made it especially difficult to watch was not simply the injuries themselves. It was the visible sadness of someone trying to reconnect with a version of himself that no longer fully existed. Athletes are often admired for strength, but people rarely talk about the grief attached to losing physical freedom. Derrick Rose built his identity around movement, explosiveness, instinct, confidence. When injuries repeatedly interrupted those instincts, it changed more than his career. It changed the rhythm of his life. And still, he kept returning. That resilience became more emotional than the highlights ever were. There were moments later in his career when glimpses of the old Derrick suddenly reappeared. A dominant performance, an emotional post-game interview, the unmistakable look of relief crossing his face after proving to himself he still belonged. Fans connected deeply with those moments because they understood they were no longer watching invincibility. They were watching survival. There is something profoundly human about people who continue forward after the world quietly stops expecting them to. Derrick Rose never completely became the player everyone imagined after that MVP season. Injuries took too much. Time moved too quickly. Basketball can be cruel that way. But somewhere along the journey, his story evolved into something larger than unrealized greatness. It became a story about endurance, about carrying disappointment publicly while still showing up to work, about learning how to redefine yourself after losing the version of life you once believed was guaranteed. That emotional adjustment is harder than most people realize. Today, Derrick Rose represents something quieter and, in many ways, more meaningful than athletic dominance alone. He reminds people that dignity can survive disappointment, that resilience is not always loud. Sometimes it's simply refusing to disappear emotionally after life changes direction without permission. And maybe that is why his story still hurts people a little. Not because they only remember what he was, because they recognize how hard he fought to remain himself after everything changed. If this reflection stayed with you, share your thoughts below, like the video if it meant something to you, and subscribe to Fame Express for more thoughtful documentaries that look beyond fame and closer to the human story underneath it all.